before we get it too deep into today's video, as I'm driving the car, I spent a little bit of time this morning kind of working on some of the rattles and squeaks and stuff that this car has. So I was trying to see if I made any progress. When I put this car together, like the whole front cap is like, I put it all on by myself, so nothing lines up right, and so that's part of it, I think. But I did find like my hood scoops in the hood, like where they bolt on, they were loose and rattling around. And the hood, like you have your outer skin and then there's like a structure underneath it that, and it's got like, it almost looks kind of like spray foam in between the two pieces. All that, you know, was gone, and so that's all just banging against each other. So I put some stuff under that. What else? The front balance, like under the front bumper, that little metal thing that has the park lights in it. It's got a couple little brackets that were broke, so they were like banging against stuff. So I took care of that. And this car doesn't have a glove box because my computer for my engine, I just made like this shitty little bracket and it's all back there, so it was all kind of banging around, and so I messed with that a little bit, and it just needs redone, really. That computer needs to be put in a different spot, but I didn't get that industrious. But I mean, it seems like I've helped it. I mean, this car's gonna have rattles and squeaks and stuff, but some of the big stuff, I think I put a dent in some of that, so that's good. The tree in the road. The dash rattles still, which I'm hoping when I'm gonna take the dash out eventually and redo like the gauges and stuff, so hopefully I can fix some of that. But the biggest, like some of the biggest noises that this thing makes, I'm hoping I solve today, or some of it. But like, this car's always, like when you are sitting idling with it in gear, I know we've talked, if you watch my channel, I've talked about it a lot, but like, it just makes a weird noise. The coilovers helped with a lot of that, but that all the front end sheet metal was making racket too. But I think I've stopped quite a bit of it, so. There's still, like I said, a lot of stuff in the dash though that's rattling around. I think doing the stuff I did to the hood and tightening up the hood scoops and stuff like that, that helped a lot. And then that front balance piece, that was making quite a bit of racket. It's almost been embarrassing to drive because like you can hear it outside, like when you're pulling into spots and stuff. It just makes a lot of racket. So yeah, about an hour or so this morning just tinkering with it helped it a lot. So all right, we'll get this thing back to the house and then we'll figure out what we're going to get into today. All right, so I want to redo all the gauges in this car because I just have like the little 3-pod gauge there, and then my fuel gauge is over there. Nothing in the cluster works. I have a little like GPS speedometer. So I bought a aftermarket bezel for different gauges. I bought a speedometer and a tack and everything. I was gonna wait a while before I did this because I didn't really want to take the car that far apart, but I mean, no time like the present, right? But that's it. I think I've already showed it before, but I have this other dash, the one that was going to go in here, and it has to be trimmed for that to fit. I've already kind of did some trimming on it. You got to cut quite a bit of it out for it to fit down in there, because the way all that metal structure was before, it interfered with how this set down in there. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and kind of get an idea of what I had to do on this old dash before I started disassembling and cutting this one up. It doesn't really fit this dash real great, but you know, it's aftermarket parts, so it's just part of it, I guess. But anyway, it's basically, you know, have your speedometer and tach, and then your other 4 gauges will go there. It's just like smooth black. But this car, when I was putting it together, I tried to really do everything right, but as it started getting closer to the end, a lot of the wiring for this is just hacked up, like for all these gauges and stuff. It is just bad. So I want to redo all that. The problem is, I think I've had this dash out, God, 1,000 times. I don't think I can get this bezel out without taking the whole dash out, and I really don't want to do that. So I know, you know, it's got bolts and stuff on the backside that hold it to the metal structure of the dash, and I don't think I can get in there too. I'm gonna try. I know I'll have to drop the column down and all that, but I have a old one around here somewhere. I've got so much crap. But like, this is the back side of it, so I know there, and there for sure, and maybe these two here, I don't know. And then like your wiper switch bolts to there, and your headlight switch goes to that. So I got to get up in there somehow and get these out. So that's gonna suck. And then of course, you know, also the AC control head will bolt to the back of the dash too, which I think I can just leave that bolted up and take the cluster out, because it just bolts to these here, I think. So I don't know, I'm gonna attempt it. I don't know how good this is gonna go, but I hope it goes pretty good, because I don't want the car to be down, because I'm using it right now, you know, or trying to. So I'm gonna see if I can kind of get up in there. I got so much stuff in there, you know, I just don't know that I'm gonna be able to get in there to it, but I will give it a shot. All right, so I got the gauges out. I'll tell you what, whoever wired this up needs their ass whooped. Yeah, it was bad, but anyway, I'm trying to like label stuff, try to keep up with everything. I know I got, like, I have to use like these little indicator lights for my brights and turn signals, and that's my check engine light. So I have to try to get up in there and get all that out. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to do this without taking the dash out. I'm still gonna try, but the way the actual gauge cluster and the bezel, they kind of like sandwich around the metal part of the dash, and I don't know that I'm gonna be able to get in there to get to all the bolts and stuff, but I'm gonna try, because I really don't want to take this dash out, because that is gonna just open up a whole new can of worms, because the way I have my computer mounted, and yeah, it is gonna be a cluster. But I'm gonna keep messing with it. I did get my little speedometer out. I got some of the trim off, but yeah, I can't get up in there as of right now, but I still have a whole bunch of just nasty wiring I need to kind of like strip out and figure out some way to give this thing a haircut, because it's just too much. It's just too much. So wish me luck. So apparently 50-something-year-old plastic is very brittle. once I broke it a little bit the first time, I was like, well, might as well just break it the rest of the way off. Where'd my light go? So I got it out, obviously, but the problem is I can't get the cluster out. So the dash is still going, after all of this and all the shit I broke, I've still got to pull the dash out, or partially pull it out, to get the old cluster out. Because there's not enough room anywhere for it to come through, and like all the damn, everything bolts to it, like the wiper switch and all that. It's, yeah, this, I have just royally effed this up. So again, I guess I'm just gonna have to, I'm hoping I can just drop the column down and maybe pull the dash out a little bit and get it out without having to take the whole thing out. That's the plan anyway. So, but yeah, I'll tell you what, this was supposed to be just a easy little thing that, like everything else that I mess with, is turned into a nightmare. Which, I gotta cut the dash anyway. Like, that's how much I had to cut out of it for the new bezel to fit anyway. So I don't know, hell, I may just cut it and see if I can get the cluster out. Just try to mark it like I marked this other, or cut it like I did this other one. But I don't want, I'm still gonna have to get the column out of the way. I really don't want to have to do all that, but it sure be easier than having to pull this whole dash out. Which I need to pull it out anyway. I've screwed up so much stuff. None of my duct work is where it's supposed to be now, and I don't know. This is just a nightmare. All right, so I just went ahead and pulled the whole dash out. It's just going to be easier putting it back together anyway. And if I want to do it halfway decent right, it had to come out. But there's all the shit I broke. But yeah, I got a mess in here. And I really want to clean up all of this. That's my computer, so I may try to find somewhere else to put it. I don't really, it's so big, I don't have a lot of room with the wires, but I do need to mount it a little better, I think. So we may work on that when I got it out, and try to clean up the rest of this, because I just got wires just run all over the place, just bare wires. So I really need to focus on getting that all cleaned up. Since I've got it this far apart anyway, I didn't really want to go that deep into it, but here we are. But I gotta finish it now. I'm committed. One thing I do want to do while I got the dash out is, this cover is not stuck good when I glued it on, so I'm gonna try to glue it back together and clamp it with these clamps. Probably let it sit overnight and try to get rid of some of that waviness that's in there. Hopefully. I've got some, what the hell did I do with it? I've got some adhesive here, if it ain't all dried up. I'm gonna squirt it down in there. Oh, too much. This probably ain't the right kind of stuff I need to be using, but it's what I got, so. Probably just gonna wind up making just a big mess. That's probably what's gonna happen. Yep. A little too much, I think. Oh, dang it. Tell you what, if there's a way to screw it up, I am gonna find it. Probably gonna need a couple more of these.
mess. This whole side has come apart. That whole top part has come apart. All right, maybe that'll stick it, let it sit overnight while I work on the rest of this stuff. Yeah, this is going to be a nightmare, but I'm glad now that I went ahead and took the dash out, because the whole point of doing this was to clean up all this mess, and if I tried to do it with the dash in it, it would wound up being just as cobbled up as it was before. So I'm going to really try my best to kind of streamline the wiring and, you know, make it a lot neater and a lot safer. So we'll see how it goes. So this is kind of what we're doing all this for. I was kind of seeing how I wanted my gauges laid out. I know I want the speedometer in the center, and I don't even know if the tack is going to work, because it seems like when I put this car together, I was getting some code about the tack signal, and I want to say my tuner just went in and turned it off, so the tack may not work. I ain't for sure if I'm going to leave these the way they are, but I got oil, water, fuel, and the voltage there. I might move them around some, but as of right now, I think that's fine. I'll still have to figure out, once I get it in the dash, and what, you know, figure out where everything's at behind here, my check engine light, and then like my turn signal. I had the little LED turn signal and bright light indicators, and I just had them down here. I want to try to move those like up here, maybe somewhere, maybe put the turn signal indicators right on the side of the speedometer, and then maybe put the bright. Of course, I can't put it in the center there, which it's very bright. I may try to put it somewhere maybe where it ain't shining me right in the eyeballs. And my power ports. Oh shit, I'm dropping everything. I had to do something with them, figure out where I'm gonna put those. I'm gonna lose all my fuses. But I really can't go any further on the dash until this dries, so I'm probably gonna let it sit overnight, because I don't want to be messing with it while I'm trying to get all this glue to dry. But we are gonna, like I said, I'm gonna have to cut out a bunch of this, and then that'll determine where all that other stuff goes, like the check engine light and all that stuff. And I'm gonna try to, oh god, I'm gonna try, since I got it all out, do something with all this wiring, make it a little neater and nicer, and maybe try to figure something out better for the computer. I really wish I could put it somewhere else, but I don't have enough wire for it to go anywhere else. There's not enough room, and that thing is huge. So, and it's having to share space with all the AC, all that vintage air stuff. So, yeah. And I mean, I could route the wires back out and mount it out here somewhere, but I really don't want to do that either. But I don't know. I'm going to think about that for a little bit. But anyway, I am going to mess with some of that wiring while I'm waiting for that to dry tonight. And hopefully tomorrow, I really want to get this thing back together pretty soon, because I do have a couple of things that I need the car for. So I can't let it be down too far. Which, like I said, I wasn't expecting it to turn into this big of a deal, but like everything else I do, it always snowballs. Oh, all right, so it's the next day, and apparently whatever I used to glue this with wasn't correct, so I'll have to redo that with something else. But I did get the gauges all in and got the bezel in, and been kind of messing with the wiring for that. It looks like a mess, but when I get done, it'll be a lot better than what was in there before. I have run into one problem though. My vent for, or the thing for my AC needs to be right there where that gauge is. So it had a bolt there, and then part of what I had to cut out for that gauge is where it bolted to there. So I wanted to trim it, I guess, and figure some way to mount it, but I'll worry about that in a minute. Yeah, this turned into a nightmare. The bad thing about all this that I squirted up in there is now I can't put nothing else up in there because I got all that shit in there. So what a nightmare. What a nightmare. But anyway, it's just like everything else. It just, nothing wants to go right. But I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with my computer yet. That is the bracket I had. I did kind of clean up some of the wiring in here. It doesn't look like it, but trust me, compared to what it was, it's a lot better. And then when I get everything in here, a lot of this will be tidied up. I just still have some of the stuff just kind of hanging that's labeled what it needs to go to, but then when I get the dash in there, I'll clean that all up a lot better. But yeah, so my computer was kind of like right here, and there really just ain't nothing to bolt it to. I just kind of had that screwed into the bottom of the dash, and it just kind of flopped around in there. So, but I'm gonna keep trying to plug away. I didn't film none of this wiring and stuff because that's just boring, tedious stuff. So when I get back to something more interesting, I'll start filming again. All right, I think I got all the wiring pre-did on the gauges and stuff. I got my AC vent on there. I got pretty much everything ready. I did have to re-glue the dash cap, so I'm letting that dry. That was just my fault. I did grab the wrong stuff, so put the right stuff on it. Hopefully it'll dry pretty quick. I think I've got everything ready to set it in there. I still got to figure out what I'm gonna do about the computer, but I'm gonna wait till I tried to figure something out while it was out, but I'm gonna have to wait till it's in the car. I've got my indicator lights, my check engine light, all that's in there. I haven't put the power ports in it yet. I may do something different. I didn't really want to drill any more holes in that bezel, so I'm gonna wait till I get it in the car and see if I can find a better place instead of just right there, because maybe one of these days I'll put a radio in it. Who knows? I don't know. I guess I could put one right there and still leave plenty of room, but I just don't really want to drill any more holes in it. I am going to drill one in that corner and put a screw in it because it's not fitting flush like it's supposed to. But yeah, we'll let this thing dry a little bit, and hopefully I've got all my wires marked correctly where I just got to hook everything up once it's in there. So probably not. You know, I'm sure something will go wrong. I'll get it all back together and the car won't start. So, but anyway, that's kind of where we're at. I kind of wanted to show these here. These are called solder sticks. And this car, most of the wiring was just like crimped together with these stupid things, and like some had, you know, Scotch locks and stuff like that. I got rid of all that And when I did all these gauges and stuff, I used these. So you put the wires in there and then you heat it up. And it's kind of like heat shrink, but it's got solder inside of it too. So it'll solder the joint and then it seals it, like makes it waterproof. And then I put heat shrink over that and heat shrinked everything. So we have no more of this bullshit in the car. So, or not under the dash anyway. There's probably some under the hood that I would like to go back and redo later. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to show you what I did. One, you know, the biggest reason was to clean up the wiring. Of course, getting the gauges in the dash also was a plus, but I mainly just wanted to clean the wiring up. I think I got this kit like off Amazon, maybe. I don't remember. I bought some little connectors too, and I was going to make it to where I could, you know, if I ever needed to pull the cluster out, I could just unplug it. I didn't use these because they didn't work very good. I used them when I did the gauges on the Ventura. These work great. I love these. These, I think it's just a cheap kit and they don't really work right. The little pins won't stay in them, so I didn't use them on this car. So all the wiring is just hardwired in. So if I ever had to take it out, I will have to cut the wires again, but hopefully I don't have to take it out again. Okay, so I know this video kind of sucks because what I'm doing really isn't good content, you know, rewiring the dash and everything. And it's also hard being by myself and filming while I'm working. I get all kinds of comments all the time about, you know, less talking, more work, which I get that, but this was just not something that was really, I thought, interesting, you know, other than the before and after, which I do have it all finished. Get my light in here where you can see it's kind of dark, but it turned out pretty good. It was a pain in the butt, but I didn't put any of my power point, or you know what I'm talking about, little power points in the dash. I didn't want to drill holes in that new thing, so I'm gonna try to figure something else out. The only wires that are hanging down right now are the wires that go to the power ports, when I just left them laying there till I figure out what I'm gonna do. As I suspected, the tach doesn't work. The speedometer still has to be calibrated, so I'll have to do that, but everything else works. I moved all my indicators up in the top part up here. I know this light kind of sucks, but my check engine light is there in the center, and then my bright light indicator and my turn signal indicators. Check engine light lights up when you turn the key on, and turn signal, and the bright light indicator was so bright I put a little bit of paint over it, hoping that would kind of chill out and not be so bright. I didn't get to really do what I wanted to do with the computer. I did kind of clean up in there because there was a bunch of other stuff in there besides just the computer. But anyway, it's mounted back kind of just a little better than it was. And there was just wires everywhere in here, so I got all that cleaned up. That was the biggest thing for me, was getting all the nasty wiring out of there, so maybe it won't be quite such a fire hazard. Key out. Something I didn't even notice till I got it all together. So this is the original trim piece that goes under where the, you know, like your gauges and stuff will be up here. This bolts under, like this is the bottom of the column. And this cutout here is for your ashtray. The new one doesn't have the cutout for the ashtray. It's just smooth. So I like that. I mean, it really clean. That's another reason I didn't want to cut into it for the power ports, because I really like how smooth it looks. You know, I don't know if y'all can see that very good, but I mean, it does piss me off that I had to put one screw in it right there, and it kind of takes away from the clean look of it. But it was either that or it was going to be sticking out like 2 inches. So I'm sure there was probably a better way to do it, but anyway, I am very happy with it though. But I think the only thing I have left to do, like I said, is figure out what I want to do with the power ports. So we'll be able to charge our phones and everything, and then go calibrate the speedometer. But other than that, yeah, it's done. I guess I bragged too soon, like when I was doing my shocks and the headlights, because all that was, you know, great. Everything went smooth, or relatively smooth, and really did what I wanted it to do. This kicked my butt. But anyway, it's done. My dash cover still didn't stick good, so I still got waves in it. So I don't care. It's just, it is what it is. So, but you know, it's better than what was in there. And like I said, none of that stuff worked anyway. So it's nice to have all my gauges up where I can see them, and they're not just hanging down in the, you know, under the dash with wires going everywhere. Like I said, I know this video kind of sucked, and I'm probably gonna get some comments about it, but you know, it is what it is. It's what I had to do at this point. You know, this is what I had to work on. I gotta get back on this thing, and I want to get the Ventura in. The only thing stopping me from getting the Ventura in is a battery. I gotta get a battery for it, so hopefully maybe I can get that done here in a day or two, and get those two in here and actually get some decent work going on other than this stuff. But as far as I know, I'm done messing with this car for a while. Like I said, other than just a few little piddly things, so I don't have to make a video on it. I can work on this other stuff, because I'm really need to get back on this. But anyway, I know I'm rambling, so I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this video, but it is what it is. The next one hopefully will be better. Thanks for watching, and I will catch y'all on the next one.